You must create at least 3 original patterns that you will have to include into your Zentangle. To do this, you may follow one or both of the options below when creating an original pattern. The first option is you can take a tangle and vary it by doing one of these techniques. You can vary the line width, change the length of lines, change the direction of the lines, add another pattern within it, add texture to the lines, and color areas in black. So if we look at the tangle on the left for built, you'll notice that for this first tangle, I changed the width and I added a pattern in the space that was in between. For the second one, I decided to change the width again, and then I also changed the line length of these little V lines coming down. The last one, you'll notice that I changed the angle that the lines were being drawn at, as well as adding an extra line into all of these other lines and changing the width of these lines to make it look a little bit more interesting. Your second option whenever designing your own original pattern is to vary a pattern seen in your surroundings. So, for instance, you could take a brick pattern, and you can do many things with the brick pattern. You could add pattern within it, change the width of your lines, change the line directions. Instead of drawing them all horizontally, you could draw it in this zigzag pattern like we're seeing here. You could change the width of the lines that you're seeing and adding extra lines in, very similar to what we did with the built pattern on the left. You could change the width of your lines by having them curve out and up when they are being drawn vertically. And once again, changing the line direction can also transform a regular pattern to where it's unrecognizable and it can become considered original. I'm first going to demonstrate how you can create an original pattern out of a pattern you see in your surroundings. I was inspired by river rock. So first I started drawing the pattern of the river rock, but then I thought I needed more contrast, so I added this black in. It still wasn't original enough, so I decided to add in another pattern and extra lines inside it. Just make sure that whatever pattern you are creating, it is similar to the other tangles you've already drawn within your Zentangle drawing. The other option to create an original pattern is to take a tangle and vary it by changing it so much that it's no longer recognizable. So here I'm only coloring in half of the circles. Then I'm going to go add in the lines around it, and I'm going to thicken up and change the width of my lines to make it a little bit different. But then I was thinking, you know what, I really should color in that inside black to make it even look more interesting. Anytime you're wondering how to make an original pattern better, always ask yourself, do I have enough contrast? And if not, go in and add some more black to make your tangle stand out. The last step that I did was adding these extra lines in around these shaded shapes. I noticed though that they were very similar to the original tangle I was copying from. So I decided to change the line width to make it more original and less like the tangle that I was being inspired from. This last thing I am drawing is a common mistake students make. Students tend to make these really interesting designs, but they're not technically patterns. You see, there might be repetitive things within the design, but the design itself is not a pattern. It's just a pretty little drawing. So that bottom image that I just drew, if you were going to make that a pattern, you would have to repeat that design several times for it to actually be considered a pattern. So technically, the only patterns on this page are the top two, not the bottom one. So just be aware of that whenever you're making your original patterns, that it is something that consistently repeats, and it's just not one thing that has all these fun little bits added onto it. Today, your assignment is to create 3 original patterns. These patterns should relate to the tangles that already are in your Zentangle drawing to help unify the work. And these patterns should show line variation and good contrast by having lots of black added into it in the appropriate places.